Hello to all of you around the world and warm welcome to People and Purpose podcast. My name is Tarja Takko. I am the founder and CEO of Takko Advisory, a firm focusing on driving positive change. Our podcast episode today is all about how companies and also individuals can be a force for good. I'm very excited to welcome Maria Ahlström-Bondestam as our special guest today. Maria is I'm saying this from my heart, Maria is my true source for inspiration. Her passion and commitment to drive positive change is quite extraordinary. Maria is a philanthropist and an advocate for child rights, working closely with UNICEF. I had the privilege to collaborate with Maria when I worked as the Chief HR Officer for Ahlstrom. Maria approached me with the unique new idea of creating a collaboration network with UNICEF Finland, targeting to create more impact to key stakeholders and especially to the children of the world. Of course, I was all supportive as it really connected very much on strengthening strategic corporate responsibility and also investing in the future of humanity. And what was established, you will hear more on that in this podcast. Warm welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
Maria, your personal value is courage, and you're very much talking about courage to spark change. Can you share with us where is that rooted? What is your personal story?
I think I've chosen the value courage because I really honestly try to be and have courage to be the best version of myself within my reality. And I think that's actually something that we could all, not maybe all have that same value, but try to be the best version of yourself within your reality, because we all have different realities. We're born into different circumstances and in different times, either war or peace. And just try to be courage to be the best you can. I think it's that.
How do you see values and purpose guide us as individuals?
For me, the older I get, and as you can see, I'm quite old now, but the older I get, I realize how much values play a role in everything I do. And it's something that I really tried to communicate openly also to my children and to my co-workers, and the most important thing is maybe it's not just the values, it's how you act on those values, because values in themselves, be it ambition, responsibility, courage, that's a value. But if you don't act on it, they are quite worthless. So it's really the action that comes with the value that's important, the deeds.
Yeah. Can you, I know, Maria, you have really a nice story where your values are rooted. And of course, it's part of your family legacy and the family values and the purpose there. But can you share with us your story?
Happy to. Firstly, just to put it back, to make it short, I'll start in the 1800s. But anyway, my great-great-grandparents who started our family company, the Ahlstrom company, they very much believed that for their business to prosper and be successful, they needed to invest in society, invest in healthcare for their employees, invest in education for girls and boys, equal education, and realizing that laid the foundation for the upcoming Finnish welfare state, but also had a direct impact on the prosperousness of their business. If their employees were healthy, strong, if they could read and count, that would directly affect the outcome of the business. So that's really something where I come from, and our family very much recognizes today that investing in society is something that affects our business positively. But my personal recollection or memories from my role in society comes from when I'm about 5 years old. And my father bought me and my siblings ice cream from an ice cream stand. And I asked if a king can eat as much ice cream as he likes. And my father said that, yes, a king probably can. But that a good king would probably teach the children and the people how to make ice cream. And that way everyone could enjoy that delicious treat, not just the kings. And that was the first time as a 5-year-old that I realized that, aha, if you have power, as a king has, if you have power, you have the possibility to affect change, not just for yourself, but also for the many. And then a few years later, there was a slide on the playground where we used to play, and it was broken. And I went home and asked my father to help me repair it. And his answer was no. It's your slide, you fix it. And I argued, I'm 7 years old. I don't know how to repair a slide. And he said, you must have some talents, some knowledge. Use them. I don't have any. I'm 7 years old. And then he said, you know how to write, don't you? Yes, I do. Well, why don't you write to somebody important that could help you repair the slide? Somebody, in government or whatever. And my first thought was, great, I'll write to the president and ask him to repair my slide. And I did. And to everyone's astonishment, I got a written reply of the president Urho Kekkonen of Finland, and they repaired the slide. And I'm telling this story because my father's message to me was that if you care about something, something is important to you, you have to act. You can't wait for anybody else. And the president's reply confirmed my desire to contribute to society. And his reply made me feel seen and heard, and made me feel that my actions matter and my life got, in a way, a purpose. And these things have really, really, really affected how I look at my purpose of my place in society.
And has really guided you as an adult, as a person throughout your life, if I've understood correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
And the Ahlström family values ambition and responsibility. They are also really well seen also in that story in that really inspiring story that you shared with us. How are these values still continuing to drive Ahlström family?
Well, it's both the family and the business. And the main here is, like I said before, you can have values, but if you don't live them, they're quite worthless. It's like having, agreement. It's word on paper. If you don't follow those agreements, they are worthless, like we sadly see today in the world. But the same goes for values. So what we try to do, we have ambition, responsibility. And for me, what it means is the ambition to be the best mother, the best daughter, sister, cousin, the best member of society, the best shareholder, and so on. And responsibility to our company, responsibility to society, especially society that has given me and us so much, like free education, healthcare, and so on. So these two are not just values, they're values that we try to really live all the time by being the best version of ourselves.
And I would also say that you were really living those values, and you continue living those values when you established the women of the 5th generation of Ahlström family, established the Eva Ahlström Foundation. and that's really still continuing the legacy of Eva and Antti. What really, can you share with us what is Eva Ahlström Foundation focusing on?
Yes, gladly. So it really came all about in about 2005. The family company was looking to invest in the emerging markets, in India especially. And the women in the family started discussing that, because the reasons for investing in the emerging markets was lower wages, and so on. And we were getting the profit from investing there. And we were reminded that Eva and Antti in their time said that you need to invest in the societies where you have businesses. So we set up the women in the 5th generation, 25 women got together, started a foundation in the name of our great-grandmother, and then that supports underprivileged women and children, both in Finland and globally. Actually, I saw there from the film, there was a clip that maybe we could play.
But then we ended up with the idea that we should have a foundation. As we didn't get any real response from the company, the women in the 5th generation, we decided that let's just do it ourselves. Let's just start it, let's show that we can do it, and that's what we did. So we don't believe in charity. We sincerely believe in doing the right thing according to universal values such as honesty, empathy, respect, and justice. And we don't believe in giving donations. We see it as investing, and investing in the future of humanity. And that really resonates with the Ahlström family values: ambition and responsibility. Ambition to be the best version of yourself, but at the same time also responsibility to society that has given us so much, responsibility to our companies and our family. So these things are so embedded in our DNA, which very logically and naturally leads to the Ahlström family vision, which is a better world for future generations.
Thank you.
Very, very inspiring, the foundation and what you're doing with Eva Ahlström Foundation. Maria, one question: why is it only women? Is it still only women that are part of the foundation?
No, luckily, I'm happy to say, no, today we have men as well. And actually, our aim was all the time that, okay, the women set it up and we ran it for the first 5-7 years, but now the whole family is behind it. All the men in the family are Evas, as we call them.
Excellent.
Justice, you're an Eva.
All the family is Evas. That's it. That's excellent. Well, you have shared how Ahlström has already many years ago really shown the social responsibility, and I'm very happy that companies today have that responsibility much broader, not only focusing on profit but really focusing on the social responsibility. So, and that's, in my view, it's about taking care of the people within the companies, but it's also taking care of the people in the communities around us. How do you, Maria, see that? How are companies becoming a real force for good in a broader sense? Luckily, many companies are really doing a lot of good already, but how to make this even broader?
I see in my work, I see that it really is the next generation that is of both consumers and the investors that are pushing companies to be more sustainable. It's both the investors in the company who say, hey, I'm not going to invest in this if you don't do it better. It's consumers saying, we don't want to buy it. It's also partnerships. So the whole trend, except for what we're hearing these last weeks, but so far it's been that the next generation really is pushing for sustainability, also where they want to work. I can see in my own children that they don't take just any position because of the good pay or the nice, whatever comes with it. It really, the products have to be good, and there has to be a bigger meaning, bigger purpose to it. So I think that's going to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And as the chief HR officer, I was really seeing that when interviewing people and recruiting talent to the company, it was really this sustainability story, the products and everything the company is working for, that was really resonating with the people, and that's when they also decided to join the company. So I think that's really the trick here. But Maria, you are working closely with UNICEF and child rights. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges children face today globally?
The situation is so dire. Children are facing threats from the air, from land, from everywhere. The situation is really terrible. So it's really a matter of a polycrisis for children at the moment, where we have this whole geopolitical situation that has so many spillover effects with the instability, with the climate change, conflict, that then leads to migration and this and that. But if I would just take on a few, I think the environmental crisis is big, really, really, because it has the effect on, like I just mentioned, migration, on nutrition. I didn't even know that, the enormous heat waves that we have, it also affects the composition of breast milk. So, of course, when it's hot, a mother needs to drink, especially if she's lactating or breastfeeding, she needs to drink. There is not enough water, so she can't really drink. Plus, the heat makes the composition of the breast milk dilutes it. So it's not really nutritious for the baby. So the only thing she can do, the mother, is to give the baby the water that's available, and often it's contaminated. So the heat has so many, plus we know the landslides, the droughts, we know all that. So, and that leads to migration. And the biggest part of migration is today children on the move. And we have a lot of children and by themselves on the move, moving around within a country, and then if they're moving around by themselves, they are, so easily exploited. They're vulnerable. So that's, and then I'll say another one, which is big, which most people don't know, is that we have a learning crisis in the world. We know today that I think it's 97%, 95% of children, they go to school. But what we didn't know was that 7 out of 10 children in low and middle income countries cannot read or understand a simple text by the age of 10. 7 out of 10 children cannot read or understand a simple text by the age of 10. And in sub-Saharan Africa, the numbers are 9 out of 10. So what does this mean for the future of these countries, of the world, when very, very, very few can read and maybe understand what's fake news and what's not? So it's really if we don't fix this, I don't know what kind of world we will have, because it will be the ones who can read who can determine in the world, but, and spread fake news or whatever you like. So this is a big, big, big crisis we have as a global community.
That is huge. And that is also something that this Ahlstrom Collective Impact is focusing. And it is about the education that Ahlstrom Collective Impact is, I think, continuing to invest. And maybe, Maria, here is a good time where you could a little bit talk about Ahlstrom Collective Impact, where I'm also happy to be somehow still connected.
Absolutely. Yes. So as you remember, Tarja, it all came about really when the United Nations launched the Sustainable Development Goals. And they called on the international community, on governments, private sector, civil society, to step up and to solve these 17 goals by 2030. And that's when you and I and a few others came together and started thinking, what can we, as the private sector and as civil society, what can we do? And for many people, the sustainable development goals, they sound quite incomprehensible. But the trick is, what we discussed was that how can we make these incomprehensible and big global goals local? Because the only way they can be successful if normal people get it, what it's all about. And when you understand, then you can also contribute to the solution. And Ahlstrom Collective Impact that we formed in 2020, officially, it's a value and purpose-based collaboration platform that brings together all different entities within the Ahlstrom network. That is private companies, public companies, foundations, shareholders, and the 20,000 employees. So everyone together has a possibility to contribute to the SDGs by investing in children, in, like you said, in education and gender equality. And some people might ask a company, why an SDGs, why children? The fact is that all 17 SDGs, they either directly or indirectly, they affect children. And that's why we saw as a Nordic and Finnish company that education is something, and gender equality is something that we strongly stand behind. That's our legacy. That's where we come from. That's what's made Finland prosperous. That's what we want to support or contribute to.
Yeah. How do you see, and this, as you said, it was established already some years ago, and it has been a really a much broader impact in so many different ways that this AKI, Ahlstrom Collective Impact, has given. How do you see this concept could be applied in other companies with other foundations, broader, with UNICEF also outside of Finland?
I think the most important is for a company, and then now we come maybe to leadership in a way. Also to define your values. What do you care about? What is in your legacy, or what can you see for the future, and combine to be effective? I think you really need to believe in it, and you need to define for your company what it is you want to, how you want to affect change. In our case, it has been children, because we see that an investment in children yields a stable society, and businesses cannot survive without the stable society, and societies need prosperous businesses. So they are really interdependent, and for us that makes sense. But for somebody else, it could be environment, which is equally important. But I think it's important for companies to apply a model like Ahlstrom Collective Impact. And it could be children. I'm not saying that would be an easy replica, but it could also, if you have something else that you have to just join forces and see, what do we have in our portfolio? We have this, and this. And what can unite us all over the board, this and this, and how can we enhance these things? And then you always need, I think you might agree here, Tarja, you might agree that you need a few people who are the force, who keep on reminding, because otherwise, even though the idea is good, if nobody has the will to drive it through, it falls.
The courage to spark change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you said right in the beginning that you don't believe in charity. instead it's really this strategic giving and being this having this on a very strategic level. I don't know if you want to elaborate a bit more on that.
Yeah, I'd love to. Firstly, maybe I'm repeating myself a little bit, but the point is we see our, in Ahlstrom Collective Impact, for example, we see our collective donations to UNICEF as investments. And we expect a return on that investment. But it's maybe not directly monetary. It comes in the form of a safe child who grows up to be a responsible adult, who then can contribute to society, so that both a responsible, stable adult who can contribute to society, so that businesses can prosper and families can thrive. And it's really, so the yield is in 15 years, let's say, when the child is 15, you get the yield. And I think everyone who is a parent can somehow recognize this, that we need as parents as well to invest the first 15 years, and then they just come along if we've succeeded. I don't know if my children are listening. They're like, mom. Anyway, so that's definitely one. And then maybe if I'm allowed to just, because there's a lot of talk about this charity. And how we define it is that charity is often based on an emotion, not on facts. While strategic giving charity doesn't really yield any real results, because it's just something from an emotion. Oh, I feel bad. But what we are trying to talk about is strategic giving, where we define a problem, solve it, and scale up the results for sustainable impact. So that's more just to think, when you see somebody begging on the street, of course that person probably is hungry or maybe homeless. And we can help that person for that moment. But the real core reason, why is he homeless? What happened? And to solve that problem, that is what we're trying to do, to go to the root of the problem. Otherwise, we're just fixing it for a while.
Yeah, and that is not always very easy. No. It's not easy to find the root cause, and it's not always easy to really have an impact on the root cause, so that you can see that the problem is sort of being solved.
That's why we also, because we realize this, I agree with you. But when we partnered with a UN organization like UNICEF, who in fact has the mandate from the United Nations to oversee that governments who have signed and ratified the Convention of the Child, that they comply with that treaty, then suddenly our investments get much more weight, so to say, because we are partnering with somebody who has the mandate to take it to scale with governments. And it's really governments who have the responsibility to take care of their children.
Yeah. So if a company really wants to make a difference, my question would be, what should they focus on? And I think you already a little bit replied to that, but is there still something you'd like to highlight? Because the reality in companies, I mean, there's so much different competing priorities, and currently there's quite a lot of also challenges because of the world, how it is today. So how do the companies really find the time and the focus on making a difference? How should they start? How should they focus on?
For me, and I think that's what we did with Ahlstrom Collective Impact as well, it's really, one thing is awareness. If you don't know, you don't know. So what we started to do was educate employees and shareholders on children's rights and how they affect our societies and our businesses and so on. Because that was our driver. But I think that you need to develop, and the senior leadership need to first identify what do we care about, and what is somehow related to our business. I think that's the easiest way, so that you can link it to the business. If not the business, the product itself, but to the legacy or values or something that you can build a story around. That's important. And from there, then develop a clear strategy, and also realizing we can't solve all the problems. But if we do something, that's more than nothing. And if everyone is doing something, we're much further along. So to define the problem, maybe develop a clear strategy, and then educate and train employees, raise awareness. Because I also strongly believe that people are good at heart. Most people are good. Humanity is good. And we want to contribute to society, because then we feel that we belong, and we have a place, our life has a purpose. And that makes us feel good. So people want to contribute, but we don't always know how. And I think that's where senior leadership should come in and say, this is an idea, or would you join us in developing this idea? How can we make our company more purposeful, and so on? So also to engage stakeholders is super important, because like I said, people want to contribute.
Yeah. So stakeholders, it's also including the investors, and as you said, the employees, and also customers. I think they can also make the choice from whom they buy certain products. And if you have the responsible companies, and that would be a very positive choice for all the stakeholders, but also for the customers.
Absolutely.
And you already talked about I think the company culture, the values, that they really are rooted on the purpose and the leadership, how they are driving the right actions and the right focus. But what would you say, Maria, for individuals who feel that they don't really, maybe within the companies, that they really want to have an impact as individuals? What could they do? What should they do?
Speak up. Courage to speak up. But I also recognize that it's not always easy, and it's not always welcomed in the company. So again, I really believe also, like in Ahlstrom Collective Impact, we wanted to give both the CEO and let's say the cleaning lady, everyone an equal opportunity to contribute to the realization of the SDGs. But of course, it's not as easy if senior leadership is against it. So then it's more difficult to spark change. But I would say, from my experience, to join up with other like-minded people. That's how we started the Eva Ahlström Foundation. I think like this. Oh, I think like this too. Oh, she also thinks like this. And suddenly you get a smaller and smaller group who says, we all think X. And then you become stronger, because suddenly you're 10 or 20 or 25. You become stronger, and you have the courage as a group to present that, and then maybe take it further and further. So that's maybe the easiest for the individual, to find somebody who is a low-hanging fruit, in a sense, who you think would probably also think like you, and take it further. And very important is to identify who can help you make that change. So within the company, then whoever, it might be somebody who is not in your department, in another department, or it might be a shareholder, I don't know, a board of director, I don't know, somebody who can help you make the next step.
Yeah.
You, Maria, for me, you were that person. Without it wouldn't have happened. So I could identify, okay, Tarja. And when I met you the first time and you said, yes, sounds like a good idea. And then we're already two, and
Yeah, that's definitely how it goes. And hopefully everybody can find that person that believes in the same values and drives the same purpose as you do. So if you don't find that, I think one of the messages you're sharing and saying here is that if you don't find that like-minded people and thinking within the company, maybe it could also be a time to look for another company to work for. And of course, in your free time, you can definitely find different foundations and different ways of contributing and making a difference, having that courage taken into action and having an impact.
Exactly. And also, it doesn't always have to be, and of course, now we're talking about companies, and companies have, already an ethical and moral obligation, a legal obligation to contribute to society, in my view.
Yeah.
If you take away that, how much good, it can bring to the company in employee engagement and attracting and retaining employees and so forth. That's from the company's view. But from the individual's view, if you don't find it in the company, like I said, my mission is to inspire, engage, and include everyone who wants to make a social impact. And by striving to be the best version of yourself in your reality. Because we have such different realities. But if an individual or a mom or a dad or whoever, if you raise your children well, and they become 3 or 4 or 2 really good, decent citizens, that's
already
a contribution. That's quite a contribution. So not to underestimate that you don't have to fly somewhere and live on the street and blah, blah. You don't have to do that. You can also, or help the neighbor's daughter who you see is alone every afternoon. Chat. Those small things can make people feel seen. Like I felt seen and heard. And when you feel that people see you, you feel I matter. Then you feel my actions matter. And then you start maybe having courage because I actually matter. My beliefs, my opinions, they matter. Even though you might have been told at home, you're stupid or you're whatever we've been told. All of us have been told something at home as children. But so I would really, that to be, it's okay to do what you can within your reality and to identify that maybe.
And we heard today so many stories how young people are struggling for many different reasons. So the mental well-being is not really, there's a lot to improve. So I think what you just said and shared, I think as a parent and what we can do, really ensure that everybody has somebody to talk to, and hopefully everybody have the opportunity to be heard by someone and to be seen by someone. And that really has a positive, huge impact, even if it's not that big of a thing in some cases, but it really has a huge impact to the people.
It has. And I'm glad we spoke about this as well, because in the end, companies are also made out of people. So as individuals can have courage to be the best version of ourselves and reach out, because many times we see that maybe we should reach out, but we don't. I shouldn't intrude, or no, or I'm in a hurry, or whatever. Often we don't want to intrude. It's not the hurry maybe, but it's not my place and I shouldn't. But then again, we're human beings, and there's nothing wrong with say, hey, can I help you? Or hey, and then the person can say, no, I'm fine. I'm just a bit lost today. Okay, good. You know, but at least you reached out, and more often than not, that person will say, yes, please.
So let's not forget that human-centric approach also while we are working within the companies. Maria, what could be a few takeaways from this discussion? Key takeaways for the
Key
listener.
takeaways, I would say, start by committing to being the best version of yourselves within your reality. And then as a business leader or part of a business or a company, remember that businesses need stable societies. And societies are made up of individuals, of people. And if we don't invest in these people, what kind of society do we get? That's why I believe that investing in children yields a stable society. And that's in the end what we all want. We all.
Thank you so much, Maria, for sharing your insights, and thank you for being such a passionate advocate for child rights. Thank you, everybody, for joining. See you again next month with another inspirational guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.